In this video today, I'll share with you 10 lessons that I learned while parenting my autistic son. So without any further ado, let's get started. Most of the times, and we know them more than their pediatrician, our family, friends, and peers. So that's why when parents see any red alerts regarding their child's development, I strongly suggest that they don't wait and they don't fall for what your friends, even the doctor might label as, you're worrying too much for your child, just wait, they'll grow out of it. Waiting has never been an educational and effective practice. So if you are concerned that your child is not meeting their developmental milestones, well, I strongly suggest don't wait and go for a diagnosis. My son's success today is 90% attributed to his early diagnosis. And I suggest the same for you. Lesson 2, accept that your child has autism. Now that can be a really hard ask, right? When a child is handed in a diagnosis for autism, the entire family dynamics change, right? Family goes through a lot of fear, anxiety, fear of the unknown, and stress levels are quite high, and there are many question marks in their mind as they try to venture and try to make their way into a completely unknown landscape. I know what it means to be there because I experienced the same situation 10 years ago. But there's one advice that I would strongly suggest is that you try to focus on your child's strengths rather than his struggles, right? Because that can help you put in a positive frame of mind where you can actually think that, yes, life can be beautiful for my child and for us as a family living with him. And another important point that we must not forget is the support of your close family, friends, and your network. So the maturity with which my family, including my husband, my parents, they dealt with the situation gave me that confidence to move through that initial shock of receiving my son's diagnosis, and truly helped me in every stage of my parenting him. So yeah, the third lesson I would like to share with you is that you are your child's trainer. Build a team to support you. So I understand that this may not be the case for all the parents. It may not be applicable to all the listeners or who are the carers or parents of autistic children. It can be quite overwhelming to train a child, especially when it's your own child, right? But the strategy that I took was that I would observe very closely the clinical sessions where he's receiving his trainings and therapies, and I would try to replicate all of that in the settings outside the clinic, because I wanted to give him ample opportunity to practice those skills and so that he becomes more comfortable in them. So I started something called a home training program, where in a home setting, I provided him with ample chance to practice those skills. And I also hired 2 psychology students as my support team, and we took turns working with my son and helping him learn many of the skills. So what we saw was that with that increased frequency and with that increased exposure of training, he was able to learn many of the skills, especially in his communication and his social skills that weren't present before. So yeah, that's one lesson that I learned, that if it's possible, become your child's lead trainer. Lesson number 4, build a can-do network around your child. Now, the diagnosis report that my son received at the time of his autism diagnosis clearly said that he is going to have a very challenging functional life, his daily life, because he is very inept at his social skills as well as at his communication. That's enough to pull any parent down, right? So at that point in time, I remember I decided to surround myself with a network of people who have this can-do approach and attitude to their life in general. because talking to them about my challenges would always, you know, um, I would always receive a very positive feedback on how I can make my way through these challenges. Other than that, I read a lot of success stories about autistic individuals. Temple Grandin name comes to my mind first, and I read about how her mother played a pivotal role in helping Temple's early years when she started her intervention, and that how she had herself had a really can-do attitude to life, and she became a very fiery advocate for her daughter, for Temple, throughout her life. So yeah, that's no wonder that Temple today is not just an advocate for autistic people, but she has done an excellent job in her profession as well. Lesson number 5, I would say, is get to know your child and push the limits whenever possible. So it's very important that you focus on your child's interests. What are they interested in? What are the things that fascinate them? And then you try to build their skills around those interests. So at the time of the diagnosis, my son was highly fascinated by transportation. And I used that interest to sort of help him get exposed to different situations. Like I would take him out and I would show him transports out on the roads and how they are being used in different situations. I would read him books that had transportation as the main characters, and that would expose him to a whole new level of emotions. And then our play would be mainly around transportation. And so slowly but surely, he sort of started increasing his vocabulary, and that led him to gain confidence and ultimately build his social skills. So yeah, that's a very important lesson. You must get to know your child's interest and build his skills around that interest to begin with. Lesson 6, interacting with normal or the neurotypical kids. I say this because I could see that my own son was he was quite absorbent of the things around him. He would closely observe what other people are doing in the environment around him. And that's why I strongly advocated since he was a toddler, that he be part of an environment where there are typical developing children. And I could see the difference that by putting him in that kind of environment, it took time, but he started sort of imitating first, and then started solidifying his communication and social skills that he had learned in that environment. Lesson 7, prepare the sibling. Now, we all know that siblings are the most loyal friends that anyone can get. You know, they have this magical power of bringing out the best in us. So this requires us that we prepare our other children to be lifelong friends of our autistic kids. And I can speak the same for my younger son as well. He has played a pivotal role in my autistic child's life, and he is the perfect antidote. So yeah, that's something I believe that carers and parents of autistic children must keep this thing in their mind. Lesson 8, autism is not a disease. Now, this was a very important lesson, because through my son's autism, I actually learned, and I sort of, it dawned upon me that there's nothing perfect in this universe except God, right? And if I speak for myself, there are many elements of my personality that, even though haven't severely affected on my daily life, but they truly have a good impression on the person that I am today. So will that be classified as a disease? No, because so why not? Why can't we say that autism is just a way of being and it's not a disease, right? Lesson 9, allowing the discovery of a new you. Now, for this lesson, honestly, I was totally unprepared for. I was not expecting that. But my son's diagnosis actually helped me accept myself. For the first time in my life, I sort of shoved away all the negative feelings that I had about myself. And I told myself that I'm okay with the way I am. And it was such a big lesson for me. And I'm truly thankful to my son for that. Because once I was at ease with myself, I was also, I could see that I was more patient, compassionate, and understanding of my kids in general. So, yeah, a very important lesson for me. And lastly, lesson 10 is making parenting less stressful. So once I was able to understand and appreciate myself, I also appreciated my duty as a parent. I found myself less irritant, and I found myself showing no resentment or any irritation about my autistic child, which I think was very difficult for me in the initial years of his life. So what I learned was that I can actually enjoy him the way he is without any expectations. And isn't that wonderful that a parent having the opportunity to enjoy their children without having any overbearing burden of any kind of expectations that we have of our child. So, being a good parent actually improved my relationship with him. And today I am very proud to say that both my son and I enjoy a really casual, easy, and a close relationship with each other. So, yeah, that's about it. These were my 10 lessons. I am truly thankful to my son for teaching me many of these lessons. And hopefully I live long enough to tell him how proud I am of him. And I can also thank him for all these wonderful opportunities that he gave me through his autism. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And I'll get back to you with another video very soon. Thank you, and bye for now.